Hi, welcome to another series of Hotel Tales What's Your Story Chat series. Today we speak to Adele Ang, General Manager of Dorsett, Kuala Lumpur, the group's flagship hotel in Malaysia. Prior to joining Dorsett Kuala Lumpur, Adele was the Area Director of Sales for Park Royal Kuala Lumpur for 7 years. She was also previously the Director of Business Development for the 1,000-room Sunway Resort Hotel and Spa for 11 years. Adele began her career in the hospitality industry as a statistician with the Pan Pacific Hotel Kuala Lumpur and also had an 18-month stint with the Le Méridien Kuala Lumpur as Director of Sales. With her passion for sales and marketing and over 22 years of experience to her name, Adele, in this first General Manager's role, is on a mission to further strengthen and ensure that the Dorsett Kuala Lumpur remains the top choice for both corporate and leisure guests into the city. She is focused on increasing the hotel's RevPAR and her ultimate goal to ensure a healthy bottom line for the owners, shareholders and stakeholders. Let's hear Adele's story. Stay tuned. Hi Adele, thank you for joining me in this Hotel Tales What's Your Story Chat series. Adele, I've known you for many years now, and I also know you as a very passionate lady who is you are very passionate about your guests, especially your corporate guests, because you started in the sales division, handling a lot of corporate guests. Tell us, Adele, now that you are a GM, you are General Manager of the hotel, how do you train your staff to effectively handle guest complaints?
Hi, Hanley. Thank you for inviting me on this chat series. Like you said, we've known each other for the longest time, so I really appreciate this. Well, I think transitioning from Director of Sales and Marketing, which is a very focus-centric on guest satisfaction and clientele, there's a lot to be learned from that when moving on to operation sense. How do we train them? Well, I always tell the team, right, to be earnest and honest and sincere in handling guest complaints. I think you have to be seen that way so that guests can feel it, and very important is also the way your tone is and your body language. Of course, you must not seem that you are being defensive and so forth, right? I think that the very good idea, one of the best ideas, it would be to listen first. Listen to the guests attentively, take down notes. Of course, if you have a notepad, you must take down notes and dates and things like that. And then you have to empathize, seem to be empathizing with the guests. And if we are definitely in the wrong, apologize. Sound sincere in your apology. And then take actions, right? What can you do to make this thing go right? I always said, we can promise, but don't over-promise, because something when you over-promise, you can't deliver, that makes it even worse. So do things to the best of your capabilities and what the hotel can do, right? Because basically when you're handling complaints, you know what we can do, right? And then once that's done, right, guest is happy with your suggestions and your actions. Follow up. It's very important to follow up the guests. Once you've been and you've done it, call the guests up. How was it? Things like that. So I think that's very important. But the main thing is, do not try to be defensive. I think if we are wrong, we are wrong. Say you're sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. We are wrong. And make it sound you're sincere about it. And I can tell you 90% of the time, whenever I confront guests, and I seem to be that way, 90% of the time they accept, and they know that, we are after all only human, right? So I think you touched on that base. I think that's a pretty good way.
Yeah. No, I think you mentioned it very right. You talk about sincerity and also empathy. I think these are very, very crucial in showing the guests of your sincerity. But how do you train your associates to be empathetic, to empathize on people, because this is a very emotional action, right? So how do you train that?
Well, I think this some things cannot be like totally trained. Like things like how do you empathize with someone? It's like we say, it's deep inside how you feel, right? But I think at most is to do a lot of role play situations, do a lot of training. We do a fair bit of training in this hotel on how to handle difficult guests, how to handle complaints. So we touch on a little bit of emotions to them and a little bit of psychology on how do we train our staff to deal with guests like that. It's a lot of training, of course, but it also boils down to how you are, right, as a person. If you don't have that empathy and you don't know how to deal with difficult clients, I think you would be in the wrong industry, because this is what we are. We are in a hospitality industry, So the people that we choose also has to have the same kind of way of going.
Yeah, that's right. No, you have been in the industry for many years, and I'm sure you have handled all kinds of guests. Some we know they are angels, some are so nice, and some are the most challenging. Can you give us an example or an experience that you've had with a very challenging guest and how you would have handled that?
Well, I would say I experienced it when the first time I got on this job in Dorsett, Kuala Lumpur. I handled a very tough one. The client came in to the hotel, and I think that in some ways, while the client was rather difficult, we also had a bit of a challenge in terms of operationally. Maybe when we first came, he said that he said that our rooms in between, because it was a connecting room, and he said he could hear noises next door, obviously connecting room, right? Then he said that he feels very insecure. That's one. And then he opened our rooms, in-room service dining, and because the hotel was just newly renovated, we didn't do a lot of changes to our dining, and some of the old restaurant names were still there. And he said, "Where was your Italian restaurant? I don't see it, but now your Italian restaurant is no longer available. Is this a misrepresentation of your hotel?" So okay, we didn't update our, okay, fine, we didn't update because we just noticed. So he came in and made a lot of compensation, and he asked a lot of things. So how we dealt with him it's a very matter of fact, right? We put it down to, okay, there was a noise, we looked at it, okay, so there was a noise in the front, we agree, right? And then we say, would you like to move rooms? Okay, then he said, okay, fine, I'll move rooms. So that's one. And then he said, well, your in-room service is not accurate. There's a misrepresentation. Of course, he brought to an extreme, but it was true. There was no Italian restaurant, So we apologize, of course, right, to him and say, thank you for your update. We appreciate you bringing it up to us. We will definitely rectify it immediately. And we apologize for that. And I also explained to him, right, that we just renovated and things like that. See, it's not an excuse, but I agree with you. There is no information of such. So he took it as, okay, fine. You guys, didn't, you're not perfect, right? So in the end, he sort of like, okay, the room, we moved him. Of course, we gave him a little bit of nice things, we gave him the basket, just apologize, things like that. But he took it in an okay way. But it's also a learning for us, because sometimes we miss things like that too. So, in the end, he left happy, and I got to find out that, my in-room service had wrong information. That was when I first joined the hotel.
Yeah. No, I think that's so true. I mean, it's true to what you preach, sincerity. I think you have just exhibited that if you have made a mistake, be sincere about it. Yeah. Adele, let me just ask you another question, because we always hear in our industry, in the hospitality industry, we always say customer is always right. We try to preach this to the staff, and we know this is not always true. So how do you tell the guests? How do you tell them that what they know or what they claim is obviously wrong? So how do you communicate this?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because a lot of clients, the saying is customer is always right, but it's not true, right? I mean, and a lot of clients don't want to be told that they are wrong. They don't want to be told. So you have to have, when you go and see them, you have to have that mindset that no matter even though you know that they are wrong, you have to have the mindset that you cannot confront them right? Because they are still guests. You can't confront them that no, you're wrong. So I would normally tell my team, right, stick to the facts, right? We be very precise and factual about the sequential of the events. So we stick to the facts, write it down, go step by step, right, in a sequential manner, like the A, B, C, D, and at every point, right, you try to seek the client's understanding where he or she is wrong, in the sense that the hotel has done the best practice of SOP. So we have followed all the SOPs. However, these things occur, right? And this is where it is, right? Most of the time, I think that the balance of the way is we like to use the word miscommunication.
Yeah.
And when we use those words, right, somehow or another, it doesn't put a blame on you, neither put a blame on me. It's just a miscommunication of two parties. And that's where it is, right? In many ways, we try to support our staff, especially if our staff is right. I try to support the staff in that way, because if customers not is right, sometimes we do the right thing. So we need to support our staff also and give them the empowerment and some confidence in that they have done the right thing.
Thank you very much. Do you also see, Adele, that more and more guests are taking their grievances to the social media, for instance, to complain rather than coming directly to the hotel management to air their grievances?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Social media is one of the biggest feedback form now. I mean, sometimes we find out things through social media before we can even get through our grapevine, right? And it's good and yeah, it's bad. It's got these two things, right? We are so afraid of social media these days that we want to make do and do very good. But having social media, I think it puts us up on our toes as well. While there are, unfair feedback, but there are also a lot of fair feedbacks where sometimes I look at it and when, the client is right, let's just change it or change the way we work, or, and we get a lot of feedback from that. So good and bad, it's we just have to take it and move forward.
Thank you very much for sharing all this with us, Adele. I'm afraid that's all about the time we have for today.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best, and I wish you a successful year ahead. I know now this is a very, very challenging time for all of hoteliers, but we should not lose hope.
No.
We hope that all this situation is going to be before us, behind us. So thank you very much for your time. And we've been speaking with Adele Ang, the General Manager of Dorsett, Kuala Lumpur. Thank you, Adele.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.